like big boxes for the menu items. Like you select the category, you have, just like you go into any, normal store now with a kiosk. Um, and I'm finding that native FileMaker isn't cutting out what I need. So I've been just starting to explore the idea of a JavaScript solution for it.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea because you're having to have a bunch of like menus and they're each button, each menu has different items on it. It needs to go in a certain spot on your layout that needs to have a price attached. Then you need
Yeah.
to keep the price, the price can, keep summing up the price.
Here, I'll show you. Let me, can I
Yeah.
put this in
Yeah.
the chat for a second? I'll show you something. Um, this is a screenshot I found online of something I was trying to replicate. Um, and the tricky part is, getting that scrolling, like if there's more than 12, like in this case, there's beverages, there's a category and there's 12 items, but if there's more than 12 items that you offer, then that has to like scroll, but you can't make a portal like this. So and the other short of doing it in like slide panels, which is just not as elegant. That's why I was sort of leaning towards a JavaScript solution.
Yeah, also the key thing with these point of sale things is the speed of the interface because when you've got a big queue of people, if you've got FileMaker and you're like loading records, so the idea of loading a JSON or a kind of object with all of that, including like the base64 encoded images, where that's already loaded because it really needs to be super fast when they're going back one of these things, one of those things. The worst thing you want is like you click it and it's like, oh, it's 2 seconds to load
Yeah.
that next thing inside of there. So yeah, where you've got all that data locally, like the price and the image, then that can be super lightning fast in terms of switching tabs and tallying up the total. And then if you're just then when you submit, when you confirm the order, then at that point it then writes it back to FileMaker. That would help a lot in terms of the speed of it, I think.
It is this system, why is it a client of yours that has FileMaker that wants to, because all the prices are in FileMaker, they're wanting a point of sale system that is part of the same app, roughly?
Yeah, really, ultimately, this wasn't even the primary objective. They have FileMaker, and it's a school. So, and basically the way it works is so they don't accept payment here. Everything gets charged off like a student prepaid account kind of thing.
Okay.
So they were just looking for a way of sort of charging their the like running the credit card and stuff like that. And then we kind of got into this whole conversation of like their current UI just sucks. And I was like, why don't we do it as a touchpad? And then I started to look into this kind of thing.
Okay. I mean, as I look at this, it's yeah, it doesn't seem, I mean, there's a lot of issues, but you've got at least three sections here. It's all of them are built off of arrays of items. The menu on the far left, the sum total in the middle, the like the line items, and then the items themselves based on a menu on the very right. I mean, this is a great use of React, honestly, because if you're touching something on the right, then the whole interface in the middle needs to update the menu items. And if you and React also can help take care of the total price there down at the bottom as you're clicking on items. Um, so yeah, it's an interesting idea, and it's probably I might be inspired to play with something because it looks like it looks like this looks to me this looks like a React app with the different sections and the different data arrays. So yeah, I think could certainly be done as long as you're not having to do anything really complex. You said they want to charge credit cards. They're just creating a list of the items that the students have purchased or books or whatever, and you just tap them and you just want a quick total, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then it would just be a simple, apply that amount to the kids, to their, credit balance.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, it would be possible to do that in FileMaker. I've done that type of card view where you've obviously in web stuff they're just like flexbox elements or floated elements, so you've got them kind of across. What I've done previously is done numbered portals with which is filtered to hide based on if the related record exists. So you select category one with like a selector connector style, and then you get the 32 or however many related items are there, and then you have like a bunch of portals inside of a slide panel to be able to do that. Obviously it is possible, but yeah, it
Well,
would
that's
depend.
that was my original thought, except that again, they was trying to get him to scroll, then is where I ran into the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in that instance, in FileMaker, you have to have a limit. You have to have a number that it goes up to,
Right.
and obviously the slide panel. Yeah, so it is a would be a much more flexible way to do it in a web viewer, because you get a lot of that flexible size items, and also you might have stuff like, well, one item might need to be twice the size of other ones for some reason because it's a popular item or a promoted item or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely, you very quickly get to the point where
Or desserts.
FileMaker layouts, yeah, FileMaker layouts become difficult. Yeah. And yeah, it depends how you want to do it. I mean, I've done something similar to this in data tables, effectively, where you've got a list of items which you filter, which are either filtered by category. These things often have a little search where depending on the size of inventory of items, if they've got like 60 items, then everything's going to be a category and it's one type of way. But if sometimes you need to be able to search, if they have like 500 items, then you're not quicker than going like five categories deep. You start typing the first few letters of it and it filters,
Mhm.
kind of like that. So the depending on the requirements, there'll be a few different ways of doing that depending on how that data needs to be searched and filtered.
Um, well, that's interesting. You got me thinking about that because
Well, I might reach out to you later because I don't know. You said React, and I honestly don't
Sure.
really know what that is. So
Sure.
yeah, no, I know. It's just it data tables would work too because you need something that will manage the state of your app at any given time. As you scroll through, you need to, I don't know if, clicking on something would highlight it and then, not make it available again or something, or you could, with the state of the app, you could have each box that has been selected already highlight. And of course, the running total at the bottom would be necessary to store that in something
I was
inside
thinking
of.
you could just click on it multiple times. They might want to buy an ice cream for a friend or something, and then they can add two or three.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so all of that can be managed, and data tables is a possibility because it manages its state, if that makes sense. It manages what row you've clicked on. It knows you can highlight rows or you can change the columns. That's all like the state of the thing inside of the web viewer. So
So
normally, what?
if yeah,
So
I'll quickly show, because what I've got is almost part of the way there. So this is what I've got, which is the client data, which is data tables, but these are cards rather than rows. So you can search in here and filter, and you can do each of these. So you could do something similar where you've got a product, a list of, product items in here that you can filter, and then when you click add in here, you can do that. So there's lots of different ways of kind of doing that.
so when you say, can you? I'm sorry, but can you elaborate on that? Like, what are those? Like, what's the?
So this is data tables. I've customized it to switch it from a view, which is a table view, because obviously that's by default how data tables behaves itself, kind of displays itself, to what I've done, which is a card view, which effectively all I'm doing here is using CSS to take each table row and make it appear like a card. So I've given it a fixed width and floated it and given it a little shadow on the background.
That looks perfect. That looks exactly.
Yeah. So that's one thing you can do, because then with data tables, Not that I'm saying this is the only way. There's lots of different ways of solving this, but you can do like categories to filter down, where you might say drinks, and then under drinks you might say milk drinks, or you might then search for something in here. So if this was, these ones aren't floated, but these ones are full width, but effectively you've got a list of cards in here. So
Sure.
an existing library to do that, you'll find something, whether it's data tables or something else. There's quite a lot of libraries out there that do that sorting and filtering thing, and then you've got a button to kind of add these kind of in there. So yeah, there's a number of different ways of solving it.
Really cool. Thank you.
So my concern with using always with data tables is getting it to look modern. And I think Gabe, you know, you're known, and certainly in my sphere, you're known for your CSS wizardry and being able to pull that off. Us mere plebs are just going to be
But I mean,
pounding our head against the wall. And then you've got, you know, like Tailwind or those kind of libraries and component libraries.
yeah.
So for those
I'm-
reasons, I wouldn't go to. I would do what Jeremy's saying. I would do it in React, and I would create
But
components and
what I would be tempted to do is look for a library that does what you want, because it's a common problem
Yeah.
with people filtering, searching, sorting, rather than writing necessarily something from scratch. You'll find a filterable card interface. I'm sure if you search, you'll find either someone has made a project that gets you half of the way there, because it's quite a lot of work to write that from scratch, to draw some nice looking cards, have them filtered, have them searchable, have them orderable. I don't know, whatever other bits and pieces like that. And this type of thing is probably a common thing that people have written. So yeah, I'm sure many of the UI libraries out there will have a sortable, filterable, searchable widget.
Interesting.
End result.
Hey
Well,
Gabe, on your tasks thing on your
Yep.
that you just showed, and it said, like 5 of 15, and then that little red bar went over. Is that
Yeah.
JavaScript too? I mean, is that a widget thing?
That is, Jeremy will love this. Let me show you. This is it. This is an inline web viewer. So yeah, I mean, basically on my homepage in here, this bit is data tables. These bits up here are simply a web viewer that's got a hard-coded SQL query in here. So this updates whenever the data does. And all it does is it has a progress element, which a progress element has a value and a maximum, and then it just does a count underneath. So I've done this way because whenever any of the data updates, this refreshes in real time. So when I sign off a task in here, this count in here automatically, I reload the view, will automatically refresh as a task is completed. So if I take this one and complete it, this, when the data updates, will automatically update based on the count, because it's just based on that data in there. So effectively there's just two mini little web views in there, just because it's a simple little way to do a graph, and then all it has on it is a CSS transition, I think. So there's sorry if this is hard to see, but yeah, the progress value. So this attribute here will say when this refreshes, do a CSS animation over 1 second and slide it in from the left. So as the value changes, it does that little transition, which is just a native. So that's just a teeny bit of code I wrote from scratch to make it just animating, which is it's silly that those little things make it look swish. There's like
sure does.
three lines of code or whatever, and yeah, you could totally do it with a Tailwind progress bar, and you could say give it an attribute, animate in, and give it a style. That's just all in line. I sometimes find rather than using a library. If I kind of know in my head what I want it to look like,